talking to somebody else and trying to educate them, then you start to realize, well, maybe I'm not a newbie. I
Right.
know a few more things. You don't know, right?
No, you don't
it's
know
all
what
in
you're
your
doing.
head, right?
That's right.
So,
So
but people they overcomplicate things incredibly.
that's correct. So Nick, one of the things I want to talk to you today about is the simplistic aspect of what you're doing and removing some of the complexities and kind of showing people over the shoulder what you're willing to show us, of course, what you're not. We'll talk about later. We'll blank some of that out, of course, from the video
Yeah.
recording. But I want people to know a little bit more about who you are. So let's go ahead and get started and just start talking about you and show them what you want to show and talk about some of these things. It's important that you understand that. And it's wonderful that you understand that. And
Yeah.
like you said, most people get caught up in the mechanics and they make that 80% of their problem,
Yeah.
in my experience. Whereas really it's a 20% mechanics, 80% psychology.
Yeah. That's right. You're absolutely bang on.
Yeah, so let's cover some of that as we talk. So why don't we go back again and start telling me a little bit about your experience. You started out working as a jailer, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah. And I
tell me
studied the computers on my night shifts.
Right.
Night shifts were basically 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. So once every half hour, I had to get up and go look at the inmates to see if they're still breathing. For the most part, they always were. And then you go back to your desk and you do whatever. A lot of people
Right.
read the paper, but I studied the computer and I started writing databases.
Okay.
So I wrote a database for this jail that would help them manage the inmates more effectively.
Okay.
They had their own software, but like anything else in a large corporation, it was for the smallest change. It was $1.8 million to make the change, and our management just couldn't. They couldn't go with that. Is that the amount of change we needed was way too much. So I developed basically a simple Excel database with some Visual Basic script and some shortcuts to help them manage, and they loved that, and that ended up leveraging me into management, where then I started designing online learning. I went back to the basics, like you said a little earlier. People can tend to overcomplicate things, and most people are visual learners.
Yeah.
So I said, well, how do we get everyone to be able to understand this concept? To get the bottom line is we want the job done. Don't care how we get there. How do we get them to learn that? So what I did was I created, I used, in those days it was, I think, Camtasia, and I designed 7-minute to 10-minute online learning modules for all the officers and police and fire and corrections to study this subject, little quiz during it and after it. And if they failed it or they didn't get it right, they could take it again because it was recorded and it was online, and who cares? Go back and look at it again.
Right.
We don't care how many times you get it, you watch it. We only care that at the end of the day, you know what you're talking about. And this was so effective. They leveraged it throughout the government and started doing that quite widely. And so that was basically my career for the last 10 years. But then being online again, I ran some small businesses, helping people build websites and things like that. And in my accountant, and I wrote that income off against my government salary, right? So I always got every year I get $3,000 or $4,000 back as an income tax return.
Right.
My accountant one day said, "Hey Nick, you got to do what this guy's doing. You got to come." So I went over to her. I've been looking after this accountant for 30 years. She says, this other guy of mine, this other client, he's buying a new apartment block in downtown Vancouver every 3 months with this income he's making. You got to talk to him. So I phoned him up, and he graciously allowed to meet with me. And I went into Vancouver one night and met with him, a Hungarian fellow, and he was doing CPP or CPA and PPC with Overture back in the day. I don't know if you're around long enough.
Oh yeah, I remember Overture, the search engine.
Right. He was making about $80,000 a month with this, and every 3 months he'd buy a new condo in this new building he had. And he said, within 2 years I'll own this building. I'll have every condo.
Right.
And it was very impressive. So I started looking at that and doing it. And before long, my dentist who started doing it, and he gave up his practice. He's in a family of dentists, 7 brothers and sisters, and they're all dentists. And he walked away, and from his dental practice once he started making $90,000 a month. And I thought, well, this is very, very interesting stuff. So I started doing the CPA and PPC for years and years and years until Amazon came along.
Okay.
And then started looking at the Amazon model.
Yeah.
And then the thing with the Amazon model is, we discussed earlier, people tend to overcomplicate things. So I wanted to make it simple. Like, what's the easiest way I can get in here with the amount of cost and the amount of trouble and get something done? So I knew about keywords, and I knew about, I had learned in 2010, I went to the Las Vegas Affiliate West seminar. And what we learned there was a paradigm shift for me. And in the old days, you'd invent a product, you go out to market and try and sell the product. Today on the internet, you find a problem. And this is the thing that most newbies don't get. Forget trying to look for a product. Look for a problem. Look for a pain point, and then solve the thing, right? So I look for pain points. I look for problems. And, because I'm older, retired at 64, my wife is even older than I am, and she had arthritis. So I was interested in the arthritis, osteoporosis, kind of, researching in that area.
Yep.
And I found a big problem on Facebook with a group of women that had an illness called interstitial cystitis.
Okay.
So I thought, wow. So then using the keywords, I went out and this was before your tool was available. Would have made it a lot easier now. But I went out and discovered how much traffic was around that term interstitial cystitis and how much passion and anxiety was associated with it. So then I found a product, because I'd been researching inflammation and osteoarthritis and arthritis and a lot of health things. I had a good idea what the problem here was. I looked at the drug they were taking to remedy interstitial cystitis, and that's a drug called Almiron. I went in and studied Almiron, and essentially it's just an inflammation reducer. So the whole thing was inflammation. So I found a product online. I won't say what the product is because, for certain reasons, but I found the product and I looked for it on Amazon like everyone else does. They find a product. Well, is it available on Amazon? So I went to Amazon.
Right.
And, there was one seller. And in those days, I think it was, I'm not sure if you had come along or one of your competitors doing a similar had come along, but I looked at the sales.
Yep.
And they weren't selling very many. So I thought, okay. I phoned up the owner of the company and I talked to her, and she was an older lady. She didn't like Amazon. She was really not very enthusiastic about it. And I said, well, do you like sales? And yeah, I like sales. I said, well, how about this? This is a guarantee for you. No way you can lose. I will buy inventory off you at cash. I'll buy $1,000 worth of inventory. And if it doesn't sell, you haven't lost anything because you still sold the inventory.
Right.
If it sells, then we've got something going here because now you've moved $1,000 worth of inventory. And the only variable is what time period you move it in. So I bought that inventory. It sold in 3 days on Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah. So I bought some more, and it sold in 3 or 4 days.
So you just started arbitraging, literally.
Exactly. And within 3 weeks, I was buying $7,000 worth of product a week from them.
Wow.
And I was up to, and literally, we have 5 kids. And of course, you talk to them about what you're doing. Like, oh, yeah, whatever. No, they don't listen, right? Friends don't listen.
Right.
But when you start making $40,000 a month, suddenly everybody's got ears.
Yep.
Like our son Kevin said, he said, I actually now know somebody that works from home in their underwear and does it successfully.
We won't disclose whether you're in your underwear or not right now.
Yeah. No. So I got to $40,000 a month. I made $300,000 in the first year on that product.
Wow.
I made a lot of mistakes, but one thing I did was I focused on the customer. If there was the slightest problem, I would, like, somebody would write to you from Amazon and say, hey, I didn't get my order. I ordered it 5 days ago. Boom, I just ship another bottle. Forget it. I'm not into arguing or making any of that. I just ship them another bottle. And then I would also randomly go over the customer list every month, and I would find somebody who's been a regular purchaser. So like the first time I did it, there was this lady, Mary, so I wrote to her and I said, hey, Mary, I happened to notice that for the last 3 months in a row, you've been purchasing this product. Just FYI, you're going to get a package in the mail. It's going to be 2 free bottles. Just as it wasn't an official program. It's just something that I did to just to build business. So, you'd be surprising how effective that is with some customers.
Let's just look at the simplicity of what you did for a second, if we might recap, right? So clearly, you have some experience working in the computer area, but self-proclaimed not really a computer guy for the most part. You're a keyboard warrior for the most part, and self-proclaimed, right?
Yep.
You saw an opportunity from something that was literally right in front of you, and instead of looking for a product, you looked for a problem to solve. And how many people miss that, right? Let's just take that 180. Like, I get that all the time, and people are asking me, what do I sell? What do I sell? It's the first question I ever got when I started coaching people. I remember I got to the end of this conversation with the guy, and he's like, what the hell do I sell? Right. And it's like, well, I just gave like 30 minutes of like 10 ideas of things to sell, but he just wanted me to tell him what to sell. And just in simplistic terminology, you just broke it down. It is find a problem, match it with a customer. So we're not even talking about the mechanic piece of things. Like, we'll get to that and probably here in just a minute when we start showing the tool and you demonstrate some things you were showing me earlier. But it's really 80% of the psychology. Someone had a problem. You identified, literally your wife, the problem that was there. You identified that problem was a group and segment of people that have a similar problem, right? Then you identified, keywords that matched up, and you found products that were in there, and you really went and found one of those products and you put it in front of that customer. Literally. And in a drop ship format, you literally made that product go to $40,000 a month. Right. I'm not trying to oversimplify what you did, because I know there's a lot of things in between there that, as you said and said yourself, the mechanics tripped you up in some areas, I'm sure.
No, you're absolutely right. The biggest paradigm that people need to understand that watch this interview later is the whole concept about, forget about asking. If you ask what product do I sell, your thinking is wrong. You got to drop that.
Yeah, that's a different mindset completely.
If I was running a seminar and I had 500 people in front of me, I'd say, what's the biggest problem in this city today?
Yeah.
You're going to look at you and go, what? Well, what's the biggest problem?
Yeah.
And then the second question is, how are you going to fix it?
What can you do to fix it, and who can get you the product or solution? Like, literally, here's a simple one. It just came to my head, right? It is, my coffee cup doesn't hold the coffee as hot as I need it to for as long as I drink it in the morning, like when I'm doing work, and I keep it in my desk. So someone created a tumbler. To keep your coffee hot, right? Like, this is just as simple as it gets down to. There was a need met. I need hot coffee. I want it to stay hot longer, and so they created a tumbler. Now, not advising you people to go out and start searching for tumblers. Don't do that, please.
I was watching Dragon's Den the other day, and this exact situation. This young couple was always going hiking and camping. They'd store things on the roof rack of their car, but the young lady could not reach up to the top of the car to get things down. So it was a big problem. How do I get up? Don't want to scratch the car by putting ladders against it. So they invented this little metal hook with a platform on it for the shoe, and it would hook onto the inside of the door. You open your door, and you know that big metal latch that the door catches on. It simply hooked onto that, and then she stepped onto the splashboard and onto that thing, and then she was onto the roof. Simple little item. And Dragon's Den loved it so much, they didn't just back her, they bought the entire company. $3.5 billion or something.
So you've got a situation with somebody or an average person who can't reach certain areas at the top of the car, which is a normal problem. Even I have some of that problems. I have a really large excursion, and I can't reach the top of it. I'm 6'4". And so, something like that, even for me, would be, would be awesome. I'm gonna go look that up. So literally finding a problem. There's one of the things that people miss, because I know one of the questions is going to be, I can think of a lot of problems. How do I go validate the problem, right? So your scenario was literally to hop on Amazon and type in the keyword or the phrase, or in this instance, an ailment that was you looked to match up, and you typed in the keyword of the ailment, if I heard you correctly.
Right.
And that basically gave you products. And
I've expanded that. I've actually expanded that since last time we talked. I through one of my other groups, I tripped into a Chrome extension. It's called Keywords Everywhere. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but
I'm not.
Keywords Everywhere installs as a regular extension on your Chrome. And then you go to the Google search and you search for something. So let's say I searched, in this case, I was writing some articles for a heart palpitation site, and I searched for heart palpitations. And it tells you right underneath the search box exactly how many searches per month that term is bringing. And then down below on the right-hand side, it lists the top 10 keywords, the top 10 searches that Google receives for that term, and then some related keywords down below that.
Okay.
There's a little button right next to it. You click it, it goes download to CSV. So you literally can do a search, download that keyword file in 10 seconds. Now you've got all the keywords for the product.
Does it give you any volumes? I'm familiar with this tool, so.
Yeah, they give you volumes. They give you how many searches per day, how many searches per month.
Kind of like a Merchant Words competitive.
Yeah, like Merchant Words. I used to use Merchant Words a lot, but this is way faster, and there's no cost to it.
Right,
so
great, good productivity hack, folks. Check it out.
Right.
Keywords
So
everywhere.
Absolutely. It's probably the biggest productivity hack that I've found in the last 10 years.
I'm going to give that to my development team.
Yeah.
Might figure out some integration or some adaptation to it.
Well, that's my next statement. I'm using that because I get those keywords. Now I can go back into ASINspector and have a look at what the volumes are.
Well, absolutely. That's incredible. You want to show us that real quick over your desktop? Can you? Or
I can.
Yeah, let's show that real quick, just so people can see.
Just get my.
I'm an audiovisual person myself, and I know a lot of people are. So
I'm going to go onto the Google search. Turn that off. Turn that off. Okay. Now I will go with. Let's go share screen.
Excellent. Got it.
Okay, so I've got this. Let me just drag this out of the way. I don't know if you can see my mouse.
I can.
Okay, so up here, I've got the keywords everywhere. It puts a little K up there.
Okay.
So I will search for, let's say, let's look at collagen. So, okay, I search for collagen. It's now, see this little item right below the search box? That's come in there because of the plugin, and it shows the volume of 368,000 searches per month.
Interesting. So these would tie back to, say, Google AdWords type of searches.
That's right. And the cost per click is $1. But if I scroll down, you can see down here is the related keywords.
I see.
This is what Google has said people are looking for on their system in the last few weeks.
Excellent.
Right? So yeah, I would take that and I would click this button, export. In fact, I'll do it. I'll export to CSV,
okay.
and boom, I've got the keywords. And then usually below that, there's another one with the keywords. So this one only brought up one. I'm not sure why, but yeah. So then now I would take those collagen pills. Okay, so there's another thing. People they're not looking all the time for solutions of a specific kind. They want pills.
Like people would have thought a cream maybe or something like that, right?
Yeah, make collagen cream or collagen powder. I would have looked for collagen powder.
I don't see those either, right?
Right, I don't see those. Best collagen supplement, that's somebody who's a little bit more in the know and wants to see what the best ones are. But collagen pills, so 22,000 looking for collagen pills. So then I would go over to Amazon.
So in essence, we've defined a problem that we talked about, and we're looking for a possible solution to that problem.
Right. The problem is here's where you got to do some extrapolation. What problem must exist for people to go out and search for collagen pills? So that is that's part of the part of the formula. You have to think about related to the product.
Well, what's the logic behind any sort of skincare or beauty-based product, right?
What are you suffering for that causes you to go look for this, right? And so then I would go into ASINspector.
And get some ideas on who's doing what.
Yeah. So now I look at where the sales are. I'll usually click it, and oops.
The bone broth collagen capsules, huh?
Yeah, and here's one. Okay, so they're ranked number 2, and they're selling nearly 70,000 a month. So this is one I would be interested in. So we would click on that, and then here now I would reverse engineer this. And I would go in and see, what are they saying about the product? What does the visual look like? And this is an important thing too, is if you look at all the successful products, and I do this all the time with ASINspector. I'll go through and look at the top sellers and then go look at the product to see what the trends are. And the trends are the graphic.
Big graphical type, the black backgrounds, the
black, that blue, collagen peptides. There's no BS here. I mean, the name of the company is almost insignificant. You don't even really care, right? Yeah, it's the product. So in terms of people doing private labeling, they need to remember that the graphic is probably 70% of you getting there.
Now, let's say I wanted to compete in a space like this, from my own experience, not going after the top dog would not necessarily be where you'd want to come in sideways to get some money going.
No, you want to find, or you want to find another issue that this is addressing that people aren't considering as an option, right?
Yeah, because I know a lot of people may be looking at this going, I can't sell. They have 6,300 reviews or whatever it was I saw there a second ago. There's no way I'm going to get that going, and I have to do this huge MOQ, et cetera, et cetera. And remember, guys, what we talked about a second ago was problem first, and then solutions and mechanics second and third, right?
That's right.
You're looking for the next lowest hanging fruit opportunity to come in on a product similar to this, potentially, that meets a market segment. But what's another angle someone might be using this product, right? And that's, in essence, what Nick is trying to help you get to here.
And people talk about, you mentioned reviews, and I hear it a lot from my business partner, from others. Right. You're not going to sell without reviews. I just haven't experienced that.
No, it really gets down to when they want the product, they'll get the product, even if it has less than 5 reviews on it. That's my experience as well.
If you found the pain point, you found the problem, and the pain is significant enough, and you're positioned as a possible response for it, you will get the sales.
That's
Never
right.
mind reviews. I've never worried about reviews. I wrote a book on heart palpitations. That's what got me into the supplement side of it years ago. I wrote a book back in 2000 on palpitations, because I had heart palpitations, and you feel like you're going to die. I mean, when your heart is pounding really weird, and so the doctors just want to put you on pharmaceutical drugs, and that wasn't going to cut it with me. The palps had to go, or I had to go. And so I spent a lot of time, actually 6 years, researching it. I found the risk factors. I limited them all. I found some products that helped me overcome those risk factors, and I beat the heart palps. So that got me into the supplement business. And when I started listing products, I didn't worry about reviews. I just
for the solution. The problem.
I wrote my book and said, this is my experience. Not saying it's going to work for you.
Well, and one of the ways we mine that and have mined that is going into the reviews and looking at the negative reviews. Going the opposite direction, people would think, right? Because in the psychology of it, what you're going to find is a lot of these products don't solve all of those particular issues, and some of them are niches that you can dive into very quickly with literally mining the bad reviews, the real bad reviews, not the fake ones, and looking at people saying, well, I didn't like this because it didn't do this for me. Right. And you're looking at that, and they name it, they put keywords, they use their own phrases in it. And when you start to, compile that data about a product that you're interested in, you can formulate a picture very quickly of an angle that this product is not supporting, but there is a need for it. Right. And especially on these larger products with more reviews, you quickly can identify those needs because they're coming in a lot faster. Right.
Yeah.
And then you identify that product and you come in at a slightly different angle. Right. So it may be, collagen in terms of the pills may be trying to solve more of a beauty issue, but there might actually be a systemic issue of it, right? That someone may be needing to go after. A collagen infused pill that has turmeric in it or something might create a solution, right? And this is just one angle, folks. And I know that we're talking a little bit about supplements and healthcare. But what the whole point is here was that we could go do this with shoes, right? We could go do it with fuzzy bunny slippers. Don't just focus on the idea that you might need to sell supplements. And I always got to say this, Nick, because people want to follow, rabbit holes sometimes. We're gonna call that the spatula effect, right?
Yeah.
which was the old school thing about everybody trying to sell spatulas on Amazon. Don't do that.
Yeah. No.
Be more creative.
Going to men's watches.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people are
Some of
still
these
selling.
are, and there's back to the psychology again, folks, what we're trying to help you understand. There is in your area, in your house, in your life, someone you know that's suffering from some kind of problem right now. It might be health related. That's one angle we just took, right? It might literally be that they just bought a new axe and it broke and it wasn't sharp enough.
Yeah.
And they need a better sharpening stone.
Yes. Yep.
In this kind of thing. So you can take these angles and start to think down, write down the first problem, then start to think around the different areas of why that problem exists, and then look for some of the things that could support that. If you're getting started, and Nick, you can tell me your opinion of this, but if you're getting started on your first or second product and you're looking for that new angle and you haven't figured out, there's very possibly a different angle for your current product that you haven't considered.
Yes.
And that current product could come in at a different angle with a different problem. You don't have to even change the product. What you would need is a new angle on your listing.
Exactly. You nailed it. And they used to teach that, way back in 2010.
Well, this is just psychology. We're still talking about psychology of the sale. Yeah. This is 40 and 100 years old worth of information, right, from the first sales letters that went out back in the Manhattan days, right?
Yeah.
The point is you're still at the same level of psychology, problem solving, put a solution in front of somebody, create a solution for them, or get in front of a problem that you have identified in their mind, and then put the product in their mind as the solution. So shortest path to distance for some of you might right now be going back and looking at your current products.
Yep.
Doing searches on those, and then determining another angle for your product. And that could literally be as easy as making some modifications to your listing to add slight different variations in language or search results behind the listing that literally could unlock new keywords and new traffic sources for your product. And this is literally something that could be done in the next 3-4 days to see effects on your product.
Right. Even if you took your product, you're selling something right now, take your product, download that Chrome extension, go into Google and find out what keywords people are searching in Google that you don't even know about.
Bring it back to ASINspector Pro, plug it back in.
Exactly.
See where some of those product opportunities are. Take some of the top product opportunities by estimated revenue, and then reverse engineer them.
You got it.
So tell us a little about your
While
process.
we're talking about psychology, though, I just on the screen here, it's a way of thinking. So people have got to you got to look at this Apple Watch. It's making $346,000 a month.
Yes,
so
sir.
What problem is that solving? You know, people are going to say, "What?" Well, here's the problem: the person that buys that watch is buying it for a reason. They want it because, and so you need to go out and find out the buyers of that market.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they buying? So I would go in there and look at the positive reviews. Why people bought this.
I like that. They want it because fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and hey, today we can buy anything online in 3 seconds. So I want it because, you know, and that's the problem it's solving. I want it because I don't feel cool if I don't have the latest Apple Watch. Maybe from a psychological point, that's it. I want to be the guy on the block that's got this watch.
Yeah, it's a affinity thing. It's a branding thing. It's a
branding, a status. That's still a problem though in that customer's mind. If they don't have it, it's perceived as a problem. So
that's right.
It's the psychology, the thinking psychology that goes by. Once you nail that with this tool and the rest of what we got, I mean, it's like
you'll find the solutions. Yeah. So I know for those of you who might want to get started with a product, and it's have a good market research barrier, and it sort of answers that question: what do I sell? Literally, you're looking for a problem to solve, right? Market research 101, find a problem to solve. We'll get into more complexities behind all that later on as we continue to do new sessions with people and more training. But this is the real biggest fundamental, and I'm actually really glad, Nick, we covered this topic today, because it's one of the biggest ones that if I can get people past understanding what they have right in front of them to find the data and analyze the data in that question and answer piece, then the mechanics and stuff we can work out later, right? The mechanics, the 20% really. Is the mechanics of pushing the buttons and putting the listing in place. Because when you actually figure out the 80%, which is what are they selling, what's that problem I'm solving, how am I going to solve that problem, and then what am I going to put in front of them to solve that problem and make money with it, when you put that listing online and you target those keywords, the sales will come, right?
Absolutely.
And if you look at it as just an average, like let's keep us pretty realistic, right? In terms of what we talk about here. If you can sell, an average of 5 units a day, okay, even if it's not your full-time income, it's a side hustle. If you can put a product in that sells you an average of 5 units a day, and you're making an average of $5 to $10 per unit, okay, you're between $50 and $100 a day. That's an average of $1,500 to $3,000 a month in take home to you.
Yeah.
Just a simple side hustle. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about here, because at the end of the day, everybody wants the big deal, Nick, right? Everybody loves some may be stuck on that $40,000 a month you were making, but really that's a process of time and repetitive function that you did.
Yeah.
That was really the 20% though, because literally you were just plugging in, right? From what I heard you say, you were just plugging in what you found.
Yeah.
And then just repeating that process, right? So hopefully some of you are hearing this and getting unstuck in your brain, because this is a mindset thing at the end of the day.
Absolutely a mindset thing. This is an amazing research tool, and but it's only as good as your thinking level.
That's right. Yeah. It's not ultimately going to choose the product for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I'm lost for words on it. It's just, I couldn't do without it.
That's fantastic. Well, Nick,
I'm moving back into some Amazon products right now, and
Yep.
the other thing too is you get a product that you're selling that you find here. You've done your research on the tool, and you've made a listing on Amazon. You can also make your own landing page. Like if you've got a WordPress blog now, there are plugins that will create a landing page for you. I mean, a $35 plugin, and you got a beautiful landing page. It's as good as anything you'll get from Lead Pages or any of the others.
ClickFunnels or whatever, right?
Yeah. And then what you can do is you can create a landing page for that product. You can go out to something like Propeller ads, which are very, very inexpensive, and you can drive traffic to that landing page. And the reason I say that is not because they're going to buy off your page, but because the minute they get interested or see that product as a solution for their problem, they're going to go back to Amazon to look for that product.
They do, absolutely. So the circle is now complete, and that's one of the things I've noticed in the years of selling. People might be asking, well, I can do Facebook ads, or they may say, I can do Facebook ads too. Well, that's just great. The problem is for you, if your listing isn't currently optimized for Google, you're going to lose a lot of those sales. Why? Because Facebook ads are now sending, or just because of the psychology of people now trusting Facebook and ads after the many years they've started showing up, right? They're going to Google to validate if it's a real product.
The thing with Facebook is, I advise people in my mastermind group and anyone that I'm talking to, about this sort of thing, is you got to be very, very careful with Facebook. It's a wonderful platform, but there is no flexibility for you to guess things. You've got to know what you're doing when you go in there and make those ads.
That is true.
You make a mistake, they won't tell you what you did wrong. You'll just simply get an email saying, oh, by the way, you've been suspended forever.
It almost sounds like Amazon a little bit. I'm chuckling, right?
Facebook is worse. You got 3 strikes with Facebook. You got 3 ad accounts that you can have.
Yeah.
And if you lose 2 of them, you'll be almost afraid to use your 3rd one in case you make a mistake. But
might jack the whole thing.
So you got to be careful.
So don't get caught up necessarily in the mechanics just yet, folks. I mean, there's abilities to do WordPress pages, and we can talk about some of these things later on from the mechanical side. More interesting right now for you, I think, in what Nick is trying to share with you today, and it's very wonderful, is the psychology of what you're actually gonna sell somebody. Because once you find that problem and you put the solution in front of people, they're going to go find it, right?
Yeah.
They're already looking for it. They are a warm stream of traffic literally flowing along, and your goal is to just get something in front of them. I used to analogize that it's like a highway, a full stream highway. We have 44 north of us here, and it's just a constant stream of traffic. Yeah. You are literally putting your popsicle stand, your lemonade stand, literally right in front of that traffic, right? Yeah. If you're sitting in front of it right now and no one's buying, it's very possible you're simply not saying the right thing to them when they go by.
Yeah.
And that's why you're not buying your lemonade, folks. So, your lemonade might be like everybody else's lemonade. You got to get a little more fun with your lemonade. And in the simplest way for many of you right now who are watching this, who are already selling with some product, some listing, and some angle, who aren't hitting those income goals with your current products, there's a really short path of winning that could be just behind re-looking at your products from a different psychological angle, from a different problem angle. Okay. What was I trying to solve with this problem? If I'm making some money, but I'm not making what's possible in the marketplace, then I need another angle of that same problem with my product, right? You may try that one and that's not 100% right, but you might try a slightly different one and you're going to find like a key combination, you'll unlock it. And many of you sitting here making, I know for the feedback, are making somewhere between a small, 4 figures and up on your businesses right now with your products, could easily double that in the next 60 days just by readdressing your problem from a different angle of look for your product.
Exactly.
System.
That's bang on it. And I think from the perspective of your tool, like people are visual learners. By watching this video today, there'll be all kinds of ideas that people get.
Guaranteed.
From looking at the material, but it also almost begs to be broken down into a series of micro videos. Like, okay, instead of spending an hour talking about how to do a certain thing, let's, and I see this a lot. I was on a group last night. The introduction video was an hour and 25 minutes. My business partner said, "Have you watched it yet?" Well, no, I haven't had time to watch it yet because it's and it was a video on Facebook, so you can't speed it up. What I do with a lot of videos, I'll go to YouTube.
1.5, 2 times speed. Absolutely.
Put it on 2 times or 1.5 at least.
Right.
But you can create videos, and this goes back to my training with, we had 34,000 employees in the corporation I worked for. And the sweet spot was 7 to 10 minutes. And so if you create videos on solving problems for them that are 7 to 10 minutes long, they might watch it 3 times, but they will get it after a certain number of times. They will fully understand what you're talking about and put it into practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, Nick, I won't take any more of your time this morning, but I very, very much appreciate you jumping on, sharing with people what you did, sharing your story. You started out as a jailer who had a lot of time on his hands and just started playing around with this and figured out some of the mechanics. And then eventually, you became a laptop warrior and have been doing it for 10 years.
Anyone can do it. If a knuckle dragger from a jail can do it. My last year, it put $300,000 in my pocket. People say, "Well, you must have been so excited." Yeah. You know what? I was probably more afraid of the tax department than I was of the, the prospects of making that income. It's life changing. I'm
going to title this video, "How a Knuckle Dragger from the Jail Makes Passive Income on Amazon Using ASINspector Pro." So
knuckle dragger to 300K in 1 year.
I didn't make that up. So you said that, not me.
No. Well, that's what in the industry, that's what they used to call as knuckle dragger.
Is that what they? Okay, I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what the inmates would call you, knuckle dragger.
Well, if a knuckle dragger can push a keyboard and mouse buttons, I guess anybody can do that, right? Well, Nick, I sure appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on and showing us today.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, we'll take care.